Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi. I'm feeling so much better today, which is awesome. And I wanted to update you on two things, just how my fasting went this past week with recovering from my procedure, which was a lithotripsy to break up a kidney stone. And also just to tell you how my fasting went. So anyway, what I'm going to do is for the first part of this video, I am going to talk about my fasting. And then the second part, I will talk about just the whole experience with my kidney stone from start to finish. So I just wanted to break it up that way in case, you know, anyone was coming to this video for, you know, either of those purposes, that you would know that that's how it's going to be broken up. So what I'm going to do to kind of differentiate is I'm going to change the camera angle. So if you see that I'm filming from a different angle, then you'll know that I am now talking about just the kidney stone and not fasting anymore. So first off, my last report of my weight for September 19th, Saturday, was 179.7. And then today, September 26th, I weighed in at 181.2. So that is a 1.5 pound increase. And I'm totally okay with that because this is a different situation. There's different factors involved, you know. I'm sure that part of it is that I did not eat very well this past week on my eating days, but also just inflammation, water retention, stress on my body, that type of thing. So it's to be expected. And I also, the things that I did differently this past week is that I did not weigh myself like I normally do. You know, I normally weigh every day except for Sundays. So I took a pause on that because I was just like, yeah, I don't really care. I don't want to know what's happening with that other than today, obviously. But yeah, so I just took a break on that. I also did not track my fasts. So I pretty much stopped using my fasting app for the most part because I was having to modify my fast a little bit. I was drinking heavy whipping cream with half and half just to kind of dilute it a little bit. And I would just basically do that whenever I had to. So whenever I had to take ibuprofen, I needed something in my stomach. So I would just drink like a half a cup of that. And it ended up being usually about twice a day. The first night I had to do it 3 times because I woke up at like 2 in the morning and I needed, you know, my pain medication had worn off, and so I had to do that again. But yeah, so definitely a different kind of week as far as how things would normally go, and, you know, especially what's going on in my body. So for that reason, it's to be expected. You expect weight gain. And so I definitely wanted to, you know, give you guys that honest feedback, because if you are going through something similar, like whether it's a surgery or an illness or just a really stressful time, you know, weight gain is to be expected in those times. And I think it's really important to make peace with that, because you know, our weight, just the number on the scale, can't be our number one focus in life. Like, yeah, it is important and we have to take it under consideration, but it's just not the number one thing. So I did definitely do my best. I'm proud of myself for fasting as much as I could. I do feel like I'm sure I got some benefits out of that. And it just made me feel like I had some control, because I know that if I just had kept eating and eating and eating, I would have progressively ate worse and worse. I'm I'm positive of that. Partly because of convenience. You know, I wasn't cooking all week long. I was just, you know, getting out frozen food for the family to eat. And on Monday, a very kind friend brought dinner to my family, and I'm so grateful for that. I was fasting that day, but I did have some of that the next day. But it was just so nice to have someone, you know, provide that for my family, because there was no way that I was going to cook, and I did not cook all week long. It really was quite more of a rough recovery than I expected, which I'll go into that more later. But yeah, so I was just trying to rest and to fast as much as I could, and that's basically how that went. And so as far as like weight coming back down, I'm guessing by sometime next week I will get back down into like my goal range, which is the 170s. But like as far as coming back down, it's going to take a little while, because I'm also, next week I'm going on a trip. We were supposed to be going to Hawaii, but that got canceled due to the world events of this time. So we're just taking a quick like weekend trip up to Washington, and so hopefully that'll just be relaxing and nice. But I'll also have, I think, 5 eating days in a row. So I'll only be fasting 2 days next week. So then that'll play into like my weight. You know, it'll take a while for me to get back down. And from now on, I'm declaring myself in a maintenance phase. So I'm going to be switching back and forth between 2 fasting days a week and 3 fasting days a week. It won't always be like perfectly, you know, alternating as far as every other week, but it'll just depend on what I have going on that week. So for now, my plan is to generally fast, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday 1 week, and then Tuesday, Thursday the following week. But I might have like 2 weeks in a row that are 3 days of fasting, and then 2 weeks that are 2 days of fasting, you know, because we have holidays coming up and whatnot. And I have some birthdays and family events and things like that. So that's my plan. My goal is just to kind of do at least 2 weeks of 3 days of fasting in a month. And I think that should be very easy to accomplish. And I'm excited like to have a little more flexibility in my fasting schedule. I think I'll enjoy it. And we'll just kind of have to see over time how I like it and what it does to my weight. So I will definitely keep you guys updated on how that's working out. I think that it's going to be something that I have to take a very long view of, and I'll probably be like doing more like monthly averages as far as my weigh-ins, because, you know, after a 2-day fasting week, my weight will be higher than after a 3-day fasting week. So I think that I'll still report, you know, whatever my last weigh-in of the week is. But then I will also do like a monthly average, you know, take those 4 numbers of the last fast of the week and then average those and see what that comes out to. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to a little bit of a change in my schedule, and you know, you guys can come along and see how that goes. I've never seen anyone do that particular thing, but it's great with fasting. You can honestly customize it however it works for you, and that's what's so amazing. I love it. So that's that for the fasting portion of this video. Now I'm going to switch over to talking about my kidney stones. So if you are not interested in that, this is where you might want to tune out. If you're curious, go ahead and listen. And if you came here only to hear about the kidney stone, then this is where you're going to want to start tuning in. Okay? Okay, so as I said, I just changed the camera angle, and now I am talking about my kidney stone experience. So I'm going to start from the beginning, so this may be a little bit long, and I really do want to be thorough. So if I leave anything out, or if you have any questions, please let me know, because I really do understand how stressful and painful this this whole ordeal is, and I would love to help you in any way that I can. I definitely learned from this experience, and so I will share what I feel like I learned and what I would do differently. Although it is one of those things that you can't really like worry too much about what you would have done differently, because it is what it is and you can't change the past. And so I'm definitely trying to focus on that aspect as well, letting go of what I can't control. But so anyway, my whole experience started on August 18th of this year, which is 2020, the year of all years. And I had some really bad pain in my left side. I thought it was cramps because I was starting my period. By the way, this is going to be like totally TMI, like all over the place, because there's just no way that you cannot be TMI when you're talking about a kidney stone and the procedures involved. So if you're not okay with that, then you may not want to watch, because I'm going to be really like honest about everything. Okay, so I started my period that day, so I thought it was cramps, but it became very clear that it was not. And I called my husband, had him take me to the ER, which I do not go to the ER ever, like, or the doctor really. I just put that kind of stuff off as much as possible. But I definitely knew something was wrong. And if you've ever had a kidney stone rear its ugly head, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It feels a lot like someone's stabbing you in the back, and it's really, really painful. Now, so I took some ibuprofen before I left for the hospital, and I was really fortunate in that really took the edge off for me, and I was okay like sitting there, because I cannot imagine sitting in the ER. It ended up being like 4 hours from start to finish. I just can't imagine if the pain had been as bad as it was initially sitting there that long. And that's the hard part about the ER. So anyway, so they did a CT scan, they did blood work, they did a urine sample, and all said and done, at the end they told me that I had a 6mm kidney stone, and it was up at the top of my ureter. It had just exited the kidney on my left side. So it had a ways to come down. The ER doctor said, well, I've seen people not be able to pass a 2mm kidney stone, and I've seen people pass an 11mm kidney stone. So it really just depends on what your body is going to do. Drink a lot of water, take pain medication. Those were her advice, and to follow up with a urologist. So so I went home and I started drinking a lot of water, drinking lemon water, apple cider vinegar water. And I actually was doing okay as far as pain. I never took the really strong pain medication that they prescribed me. And this is just a personal preference. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm home with my kids. So I wanted to be mentally present, even if I was physically incapacitated a little bit. And so, but for me, I was fortunate in that ibuprofen did the trick. Like, it really just was enough for me. And I only had to take like 400 to 600 milligrams, 2 to sometimes 3 times a day, but mostly just twice a day. And that was enough for me to like keep it at bay. I actually went out of town and went on a trip and just kept taking ibuprofen, and I was fine. I only took that for like 5 days, and then it just felt fine, so I stopped taking it. And in that time, you know, I was doing a few things like the lemon water and drinking more. But honestly, I wasn't drinking enough. Like, I am someone, and this is probably why I got the kidney stone, I don't tend to naturally drink enough water. I'm very underhydrated, and so I'm pretty sure that's what caused my kidney stones in the first place. It could have been some of the things I eat, but most likely it's just the underhydrating. As far as things that you eat, and I don't even know for sure what kind of stone mine was. I did have the fragments. I submitted them to the doctor to be analyzed, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't heard back. So, but the common culprits are like nuts and spinach and calcium, not calcium in your diet, but like supplemental calcium. And those are things that I had been consuming, so that those could have been factors, but I'm gonna say it was probably the water. So I did increase my water intake, but just, I don't think enough in the initial part. And I wasn't like measuring or anything, so I'm not sure how much I was drinking, but I just kind of increased my water intake, but you know, I just don't think it was quite enough. And so 2.5 weeks in is when I saw my urologist and I saw my x-ray. So he showed that to me, and he recommended that I have the laser surgery, which I believe is called uteroscopy. And that is where you, they go in with a scope and then they blast the stone with a laser and pull it out. And then they would put a stent into your kidney, from your kidney to your bladder. So there's like a rubber tube, and you would be under anesthesia. And that's what he recommended. He also said that there was the other option was a lithotripsy, where they would take these shock waves and target the stone and break it up, and then it would pass on its own. And he said you might have to have a stent with that as well. And so this is where like I kind of had a misunderstanding that I think would have affected my decision making. So in my head, I thought that that sounded like a less invasive option. You know, you don't have to be lasered, which could have other potential, you know, dangerous things that could happen. And I don't know, in my head, I thought maybe like if I did it that way, I wouldn't have to be put all the way under, which I did have to be. And also I don't know, I just thought the recovery would be easier. It just sounded less invasive and like a better option to me. And he said, okay, well, we can try that. If it's too far down and it's behind your pelvis, then that might not be an option because your pelvis will block the shock waves. And so that could not be an option. I'm like, okay, well, I'd like to try that. And then if it's not an option, we'll do the other thing. And so in my head, I was thinking that when I went to my surgery, that he would kind of just ask me what I wanted to do and we would decide from there. But that's not how it happened. So I will get into that more later. But I think I might have chosen just to do the laser. I don't know. See, this is where I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would have chosen that if I had thought about it more. But I guess I just didn't realize what the situation would be completely. So I went home and just was waiting for the surgery and hoping that it would pass on its own. And at about 4 weeks in, so about a week before my surgery, I started like researching more because I was getting a little more desperate. Like, I just really don't want to go do this. And it was going to cost a lot of money. And, you know, I was going to have to recover. And that's always hard when you have, well, it's hard for anyone, you know, but when I'm home with kids, it's hard to like rest and take it easy. So anyway, I looked up all these videos, and one thing that I kept seeing in comments of videos and things, and I would say that typically I try to avoid comments in YouTube videos, but in a lot of kidney stone videos, the comments are really helpful because there are people who are like going through it themselves or have been through it, and they give their suggestions, and I find those to be quite helpful. So one thing that people kept mentioning was this herb called chanca piedra. I think that's how you say it. And it actually translates to stone breaker. Okay, so I got some of that on Amazon and I tried it for 3 days. And I did feel like I kept feeling more cramping during that time, and I felt like maybe things were moving. but I had to stop taking it because I felt like it was giving me an allergic reaction. I get this reaction where I just get really sore between my shoulder blades and in my spine. And so I stopped taking it. But I'm going to link some of the videos that I watched just in case it helps you, because I think that if you start these things earlier on, and if you're more aggressive earlier on, which is a big mistake that I made, you may have a better chance of passing it on your own and not have to go through what I did or what a lot of people do. And you can avoid some pain and save a lot of money. So I will post those. I make no guarantees, but just in case they do help you, I am going to continue to try to take that, because what I found out in my appointment was that I have more kidney stones actually in my other kidney. There's like 3 or 4. He said they were really small, so that's hopeful, but I am definitely hoping to avoid any future procedures and just, you know, pass those hopefully painlessly and without any events. That would be great. But anyway, so yeah, so I try these things. I'm drinking a ton of water, like over a gallon of water a day. But I didn't see anything pass. I was straining my urine. So when I left the hospital, they gave me a strainer, and I had been using that for the most part throughout this time and hadn't seen anything come out. So here I am, and it's September 21st, and that is about 5 weeks after my initial going to the ER. And that's my surgery day, okay? So the first thing that was difficult was, you know, in this current situation in our healthcare world, I was not allowed to bring my husband in with me. I had to go in alone. This was the first time I'd ever had any kind of surgery where I had anesthesia. So that in and of itself was making me pretty nervous. But then on top of that, I didn't have anyone with me to sort of like help me like advocate for me or ask questions or like clarify things. And so I just want to prepare you, if you're in this situation, like to, you know, have your questions ready that you can ask, and also ask afterwards for someone to explain what happened, because that didn't really happen with me. So I got there, I got prepped, they did an x-ray, they got me ready for the IV. One of the nurses told me, you know, you may have a stent placed, we're doing the lithotripsy. And so then about 10 minutes before the procedure, the original nurse came in. She's like, okay, so we're breaking up your stones. And I was like, well, I only have 1. She's like, well, it looks like there's 2, and they're 1 millimeter and 2 millimeters. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, well, that's what it shows. And so I was confused, like, well, what happened? Like, there was a 6 millimeter stone, and now there's only a 1 and a 2. And so when the doctor finally came in, like right before, and I was already like all ready to go, all prepped and stuff, and I said to him, I was like, well, it looks like the stone broke up into 2 small pieces. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, that's what the nurse said. And he's like, what nurse? And I was like, the nurse that was in here before. And he's like, well, I guess I better go look at that image. And he left the room, and I never saw him again. Never. Like, not before, not after. And so I still don't know what happened with that. And I won't find out until the middle of November, because that's when I have my follow-up appointment with him, with the doctor, and when I have to get another x-ray. So yeah, that was a little frustrating, because after the fact, I was like, okay, so did I like somehow, with all the things that I did I break up that stone, and would it have passed on its own? And that was frustrating, because and the thing is I felt like I was at a point of no return, where I was there and I was prepped and ready for surgery, and there was just no way that anyone was going to say anything to me like, oh, this happened. Are you sure you want to do it? And that's, I don't know, you know, and maybe I still would have needed it. I don't know, but it's frustrating to think that maybe I didn't. So that's what happened. I was basically whisked away, put under. They did the procedure. I woke up in recovery, they told me that they had placed a stent. I never spoke to anyone from the actual operating room. After that, just the nurses that were helping me, basically get ready to go, and they were calling my husband to come pick me up. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, or if I could have eventually passed it on my own. I will tell you that if I had been able to have that x-ray a few days before the surgery and seen that it had broken up into 2 smaller pieces, I definitely would have postponed it. But that's not how they do it. And I don't know if that's something that you can choose. If you can ask your urologist, like, hey, can I have an x-ray done in a couple of weeks and see if anything has changed, and then, you know, make a decision based on that. I do know that they schedule the surgeries pretty far out. And so I felt really pressured because I was worried that I was going to cause damage by having this kidney stone stuck in my ureter, that I was going to like cause permanent damage from the blockage. And so I did feel a little bit of pressure, and that was hard. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I would have done, but I do want to just put that out there to let you know that there is that possibility that after that much time, something could have improved and changed, and you just don't know. But and also for me, because I was managing the pain, or I didn't have any pain, I was fine. I would say that for me, I definitely would have waited because I was not experiencing any pain. I wasn't having any infections. So I think that for me, it would have been a good choice to wait. But it happened. So anyway, I went home, and I will tell you that the recovery was rough. And I think that the majority of the problems and the discomfort was from the stent that they placed in, which was to, it's basically like this rubber tube that goes from your kidney down to your bladder. And it's supposed to help from any inflammation causing blockage in the tube because of the work that they did, but also help the fragments to pass. So I will say that within the first few times I went to the bathroom and I strained my pee, there were pieces. It was like sand. It was like there was sand at the bottom. And so I tried to get it out as best I could. It was kind of hard to get, but, yeah, so it feels like you have a UTI, like a urinary tract infection. It burns, it stings, and you always feel like you have to go, and it's just really uncomfortable. And there's also going to be cramping. I felt it like in my abdomen and in my lower back. And I think what that is like your kidney is spasming as it's trying to expel, as it has this foreign object in it, and also as it's trying to expel the fragments. So you're going to feel that cramping, burning, stinging sensation, and it's really uncomfortable. There's going to be blood in your urine, and that, you know, that's to be expected. I personally only took ibuprofen throughout this whole time. Again, because I just wanted to be mentally present. But whatever you choose for your pain management, you know, no judgment there, just that's what I chose. So I had my lithotripsy on Monday. They took the stent out on Friday, and that felt so good, like just relief. But I will tell you that still after that, I felt some cramping. And I looked it up, and that's normal. You still can have some cramping a few days after you have the stent removed. Still a little bit of blood, but that's getting a lot better. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at. And please let me know if you have any questions, if I left anything out. I tried to keep this not too long, but it's already gotten to be quite long. So what would I do differently? I might postpone the procedure. I may have chosen to do the laser surgery. I'm not sure. But yeah. So for the kidneys that I have in my kidney still, what I'm going to do from now on is I'm going to continue to drink a lot of water. I am going to try and take that herb again, the Chonka Piedra, and hopefully that'll help break up the stones that I have over there and just help them to pass without any incident. I really hope, fingers crossed. And I hope that you are doing okay, because I'm sorry if this is something you're dealing with. I really am. And yeah, I do hope this helps you. I know it might just confuse you more or make you more, unsure. I really don't want that. I just want you to be prepared and to know that you do have some options and to be aware of what those are. And I will update everyone as soon as I get my next x-ray done and see what it shows and if there was any changes. So that'll be in the middle of November sometime. But that was that. It was really long, so I'm sorry it was so long. Please let me know if you have questions, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.